staying with students now, and they're usually torn between fees, accommodation, transport, and books, leaving food on the back burner. Now, poverty is the primary cause of this problem, combined with food price increases and limited resources. It's a big issue that needs more attention, as studies have shown that more and more students experience food insecurity. We're joined by Familola Adiniyi. She's the doctoral researcher at the Dula Omar Institute to talk to us more about how we can curb hunger at universities. Familola, good evening, and thanks for your time. And yes, I suppose we don't realize how many students don't make it through university, how many of them have to drop out because they just don't have enough food, because they're hungry, do we?
Yes, good evening, and thank you very much for having me. I think that the problem for a very long while was what I would describe as the skeleton in university's cupboard, because nobody was talking about it until about the last 5 years in South Africa. And then research that has come forth so far shows that the problem is massive, it's enormous, and it's something that needs to be dealt with, and dealt with quite fast also, because it affects students not only in the fact that students that are hungry naturally cannot learn, but it also affects the throughput rate of students. Already South Africa has quite a high dropout rate of university students, and we find that more than 50% of people who start university at the first year do not graduate. And of those who graduate, it takes almost double the time to graduate. Some of the issues which students face include hunger, and I mean, I don't think it should be acceptable at any point in time that our students should be going hungry, and especially not at the scale it currently is.
And you have identified or looked at some universities. Can you take us through just some idea of just where students are having it the worst?
Yeah. So some of the research that has come forward, I think I need to contextualize it by stating that there is no national research as yet, and I think that's a great area for research. That is a gap that needs to be addressed as soon as possible. But we have campus-specific research so far, and so far we have about 4 or 5 campuses across the nation where research has been done. The first to come out was from the University of the Free State, and at the University of the Free State, it was shown that up to 65% of students were food insecure. 60% of these students, food insecurity with hunger. Now, most of the research that has been done have been done particularly in previously disadvantaged universities. Up until last year, when research came from the University of Wits, where students were also tested, and this research was carried out just to see how deep the problem was. And like we had predicted, we don't think it's a huge problem specifically in the previously advantaged universities. The problem is not on a massive scale as it is in the black universities. However, there are pockets of food insecurity even in the previously advantaged universities. Like the VIT study of last year showed us that up to 78% of male African students experienced food insecurity. I do not think that by any standards that should be acceptable.
Familola, I suppose the question now is, what do we do? I know of some organizations like Rise Against Hunger that do provide meals for students at some universities as well. And I mean, apart from that, what other programs are out there, and where else are we falling short? How are we just not getting this right?
I think I must start by saying that the programs that are available on various campuses are laudable and they should be encouraged. However, they are only mid-term solutions, and those solutions are not sustainable in the long run. First and foremost, what we need is the right to food legislation generally in South Africa, and specifically within the context of tertiary institutions. We need policy to address this, and that's what the Dula Omar Institute is doing, driving policy change with regards to this issue. But beyond that, I also think that universities need to begin to reconceptualize the way they see themselves as solutions to this issue. First and foremost, in the research that they do, I think that there is a very great opportunity for us to feed back our research into the institutions to be able to provide concrete solutions. Also, universities need to place themselves at the center of driving change for these issues. And how? You need to look at, universities need to begin to reconceptualize themselves as solution drivers. How do we do that? We need to begin to think of the buying power that universities have in order to drive the transition to a just food system. Universities need to open up the spaces. The tender systems that we use currently in many universities to determine who can buy, who can sell on campus, drives up food prices and also drives up availability of food on campus. There is a space to open up to support black farmers, to support small-scale holder farmers, to be able to bring in solutions for food at cheaper rates and more available nutritious food on campus.
Okay, thanks very much. We'll leave it there for now. Funmilola Adine, she's a doctoral researcher at the Dula Omar Institute, is talking about curbing hunger among our students at universities, which is causing them to drop out most times. They just don't make it because they're hungry.